sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's second inauguration as President of the United States.
Wow.
And get this, it's happening tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
It's not every day we see a president return for a second term
right.
after a break like this. So we've got a lot to unpack.
Yeah, we do.
We have a CBS News article that kind of outlines the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And it highlights some pretty unusual twists this time around.
For sure.
Before we get into the specifics,
Yeah.
why are inaugurations even a thing?
That's a great question.
What's their purpose?
Well, at its core, an inauguration is the formal transfer of presidential power.
Right.
It's that moment when the incoming president officially takes the reins.
Okay.
And this is all thanks to the 20th Amendment to the Constitution,
Uh-huh.
which says that the inauguration has to happen at noon on January 20th.
So it's all very precisely timed and orchestrated.
Precisely.
And in this case, it marks a very rare occurrence. A president returning for a second term after a break.
Absolutely.
That adds a whole other layer to this event, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. A president coming back to office after a gap.
Right.
What kind of message does that send? What does it tell us about the state of American democracy in 2025?
Yeah,
That's kind of the thread I'm interested in as we look at the details.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we're not just looking at a schedule. We're trying to understand what this inauguration might tell us about where we are as a country.
Exactly.
Okay, typically this grand ceremony happens on the west front of the Capitol building,
Right.
but not this year.
Not this year.
Right.
This year's ceremony has been moved inside to the Capitol Rotunda
Oh, wow.
because of the frigid January weather in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if there's a deeper historical connection there.
I was going to say, have a lot of other presidents been inaugurated indoors?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
While the West Front is the iconic image that we all have in our minds,
Right.
several presidents have been sworn in inside the Capitol Rotunda, sometimes due to weather
Okay.
or other circumstances.
So even in its unusual setting, this inauguration is still part of a historical continuum.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's get into the schedule.
Okay.
The Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies,
Right.
they're the folks in charge of orchestrating everything. They have planned 8 events.
8 events. What are some of the highlights we should be paying attention to?
Well, we've got the procession to the Capitol,
Okay.
the swearing-in ceremonies for both the Vice President and the President,
Right.
followed by the highly anticipated inaugural address.
Of course.
Then there's a luncheon, a military review, and a cap it all off the parade.
Wait, a parade indoors.
That's another unique twist this year.
Oh, wow.
The parade won't be following its traditional route along Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oh.
Instead, it's taking place at Capital One Arena in downtown Washington. So this raises the question, is the change solely due to weather?
Right.
Or are there security or logistical factors involved?
It definitely makes you think.
Yeah.
Maybe the theme for this inauguration can give us a clue.
Okay.
It's our enduring democracy, a constitutional promise.
What are your thoughts on that?
Our enduring democracy. It seems to emphasize the continuity and resilience of American democracy,
Okay.
especially considering the political events of the past few years.
Right.
Moving the inauguration indoors, perhaps that reinforces that message of stability and strength.
Yeah.
Almost like a safe space for this transfer of power.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're creating a visual representation of that theme by holding the ceremony within the Capitol building itself,
Yeah.
the very heart of American governance.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into some specifics.
Okay.
Trump's swearing in is scheduled to begin around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time,
Okay.
culminating in the oath of office at noon, sharp. Based on past inaugurations, we can expect this to last about an hour.
An hour, okay.
And what about the key players involved in this pivotal moment?
Yeah.
Any familiar faces?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, we have Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat from Minnesota,
Okay.
leading the Congressional Committee, and Chief Justice John Roberts, who will be administering the oath to President Trump.
2 figures who have played significant roles in recent political events.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how their presence shapes the tone of the ceremony.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And here's a detail that caught my eye.
Okay.
Justice Brett Kavanaugh, appointed by Trump himself back in 2018,
Right.
will be swearing in the new Vice President, J.D. Vance.
Ah, that's quite a choice.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the lasting impact of presidential appointments on the judiciary
Yeah.
and how those decisions continue to resonate even years later.
Yeah,
It adds a personal connection to the ceremony as well.
definitely. And we can't forget the music.
Of course not.
No inauguration would be complete without some musical interludes.
Right.
This year, we have a mix of traditional and contemporary performers.
Always a crowd pleaser.
Yes.
So who's on the lineup this time?
We've got country superstar Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And for a complete change of pace, opera singer Christopher Macchio
Okay.
will be performing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Wow. That's quite a range.
Quite a range, wouldn't you say?
It is, yeah.
I wonder if it's an attempt to appeal to a broad spectrum of Americans,
Yeah.
maybe signifying unity in a shared cultural heritage.
That's an interesting thought.
But speaking of trying to bridge divides,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about the guest list.
Ah, the guest list.
Yeah.
It's always a source of speculation and intrigue.
Yes.
You know, it's often seen as a barometer of political relationships and allegiances.
Exactly. This year is no different.
Right.
We've heard whispers about some notable figures who might be skipping the festivities,
Really?
while others are making a point of being front and center.
It's like a political chess match
Yeah.
playing out in the grand ballroom.
Right. And of course, there's the fashion.
Oh, yes, of course.
Inauguration Day is always a chance for attendees to showcase their style,
Absolutely.
from classic elegance to bold statements.
For sure.
But, beyond the glamour in the guest list,
Yeah.
this inauguration is ultimately about the peaceful transfer of power,
Yes.
a cornerstone of American democracy.
Absolutely. And in a time when democracies around the world are facing challenges,
Right.
it's a powerful symbol to uphold.
Speaking of powerful symbols, let's talk about the inaugural address.
Okay.
This is where the newly sworn-in president lays out their vision for the next 4 years.
Right.
It's a chance to set the tone, articulate priorities,
Yeah,
and try to rally the nation behind their agenda.
for sure.
And with Trump returning to the presidency after a break,
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of speculation about what he'll focus on.
Yeah.
Will he emphasize continuity with his previous administration?
Right.
Or chart a new course?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
It'll be fascinating to see how he addresses the current political climate, the challenges facing the country, and his plans for moving forward,
Yeah.
especially given that theme of our enduring democracy.
Right.
Will his address reflect that theme, or will it challenge it?
Now that's a good question.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the delivery.
Oh, of course not.
Trump is known for his unique speaking style,
Right.
so I'm sure he'll have everyone's attention.
His ability to connect with a certain segment of the population is undeniable.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if he tries to broaden his appeal
Right.
or double down on what worked for him in the past.
It's a high-stakes speech, for sure.
Absolutely.
One that could set the stage for his entire presidency.
It could.
So we've gone on quite a journey through this inauguration already.
We have.
What are your thoughts so far? What's
Right.
standing out to you from all this information?
I think the venue change is certainly intriguing.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they transform the Capitol Rotunda for this event.
Right.
And what kind of atmosphere it will create.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very interested in the inaugural address and how it will address the theme of our enduring democracy.
Me too. And those whispers of who might be skipping the inauguration.
Yeah.
What does that tell us about the political landscape in 2025?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for any notable absences.
Yes, we will.
It seems like we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll delve deeper into some of these fascinating details.
Sounds good. Thinking about the Capitol Rotunda as the venue, it's interesting to consider the historical weight of that space.
Right.
So many pivotal moments in American history have unfolded within those walls.
That's true.
You know, it's almost like they're drawing a direct line between those historical moments and this inauguration,
Right.
reinforcing that sense of continuity we were talking about.
Exactly. Speaking of continuity, it makes me think about the potential impact of the inaugural address.
Yes.
With Trump coming back into the presidency.
Uh-huh.
It's not just a new term.
Right.
It's a chance to potentially redefine his legacy.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like a second first impression.
Right.
He has this opportunity to address what happened during his time out of office,
Yeah.
acknowledge the challenges facing the country, lay out a vision for the future.
And don't forget, the inaugural address isn't just about the words. It's also about the delivery.
Oh, for sure.
Trump is a master of capturing tension.
Oh, absolutely.
His speaking style is so distinct.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if he leans into that familiar approach or tries something different this time around.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he navigates that balance
Yeah.
between appealing to his base
Right.
and potentially reaching out to a wider audience,
Yeah.
especially given the current political climate.
Speaking of the political climate,
Mm-hmm.
I keep coming back to those whispers about who might be skipping the inauguration.
Yes. It's like a silent protest,
It is.
a way of expressing disapproval without directly saying a word.
Makes you wonder who will be there.
Yeah.
Who will choose to stand alongside Trump as he takes the oath of office for a second time.
It's like a public declaration of allegiance, isn't it?
It is.
And for those who choose to stay away,
Right.
it speaks volumes.
Absolutely. It adds another layer of complexity to our understanding of the theme, our enduring democracy.
Right.
You know.
It makes you think about what it really means for a democracy to endure.
Yeah.
Does it mean presenting a united front? Or does it also encompass the right to dissent,
Right.
to express disapproval?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to the very heart of what we're exploring here.
Right.
You know, this inauguration isn't just a ceremony. It's a reflection of the state of American democracy in 2025.
Right.
With all its complexities and contradictions.
And those contradictions are everywhere.
They are.
Think about the musical lineup.
We have Carrie Underwood, a country music superstar, singing America the Beautiful.
Right. And then we have Christopher Macchio,
Right.
an opera singer,
Right.
performing the Star-Spangled Banner.
It's such an interesting juxtaposition.
It is.
It's like they're trying to represent the vast spectrum of American culture and taste in a single event.
And maybe, just maybe, it's a subtle message of unity, a suggestion that even in our differences,
Right.
there's a shared heritage we can all tap into.
I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
It's hopeful, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, and hope is something we could all use a little more of these days.
Couldn't agree more.
Right.
But beyond the music and the symbolism,
Okay.
there's a practical side to this inauguration as well.
Right.
The security measures, for instance, must be incredibly complex.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
Yeah.
considering the venue change and the high-profile nature of the event.
Yeah.
I imagine they're taking every precaution to ensure the safety of everyone involved.
And that brings us back to that question we keep circling.
Yeah.
Why the change in venue?
Right.
Is it purely weather-related? Or is there something more at play?
It's hard to say for sure, but the fact that they moved the parade to Capitol One Arena as well
Right.
suggests that security might be a significant factor.
Yeah, and the optics of holding the inauguration indoors
Yeah.
in a more controlled environment might appeal to those who are concerned about potential disruptions or protests.
Right. It's all about sending the right message. And in this case, that message seems to be one of stability,
Right.
security,
Uh-huh.
and a determination to proceed with this transfer of power despite any challenges or dissent.
It's like they're creating a fortress of democracy within the walls of the Capitol building itself.
A very apt metaphor, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But, you know, even with all the security and the carefully crafted messages,
Yeah.
there's still an element of unpredictability to this event.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
That's the beauty of a live event.
Yeah.
You never quite know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the reason why inaugurations continue to fascinate us.
Yeah.
They're a mix of tradition, symbolism,
Right.
and raw human emotion all rolled into one.
And they offer a glimpse into the heart of American democracy, with all its strengths and vulnerabilities laid bare.
Now that we've covered the logistical and symbolic aspects of this inauguration,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are some of the broader implications of Trump's return to the presidency?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that we could spend hours discussing.
Right.
But if I had to pinpoint a few key areas to watch,
Okay.
I'd say pay close attention to how this second Trump administration approaches domestic policy,
Okay.
foreign relations, and the economy.
Those are all critical areas. And given the events of the past few years,
Right.
I imagine there will be a lot of scrutiny on how Trump handles those issues.
Absolutely. The stakes are high, and the world will be watching closely to see how the second act unfolds.
And let's not forget the impact on the political landscape.
Of course not.
Trump's return to the presidency is sure to shake things up.
It already has. We're seeing new alliances forming,
Right.
old rivalries reigniting, and a whole lot of uncertainty about what the future holds.
It's like a political earthquake,
Yeah.
reshaping the terrain of American politics.
It is, and it's far too early to say what the aftershocks will be.
But one thing's for sure, we're in for a wild ride.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the specifics of the inauguration schedule to the broader implications of Trump's return to the presidency.
Yeah.
What stands out to you the most from our conversation?
I think what's resonating with me the most is this idea that this inauguration is a microcosm of American democracy in 2025.
Okay.
It's a stage where all of our hopes, fears, divisions, aspirations are playing out in real time.
It's not just a ceremony.
Right.
It's a reflection of who we are as a nation.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even in our divided state, there's still a shared story we're all a part of.
And that story is still being written.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this inauguration so compelling.
Yeah.
You know, we're witnessing a pivotal chapter in American history unfold right before our eyes.
And who knows what the next chapter will hold.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The future is still unwritten,
Right.
full of possibilities and potential.
Right.
But for now, we have this moment, this inauguration, this chance to reflect on who we are and where we're headed.
And that's something worth pondering, isn't it?
It is. It truly is.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive into Trump's second inauguration,
Yeah.
I can't help but think about the historical significance of this moment.
Right.
I mean, we're literally witnessing the return of a former president to the White House after a gap in service.
It's unprecedented.
Yeah, it's a unique situation with no real precedent.
It highlights the enduring nature of American democracy, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
You know, despite all the challenges and the divisions we faced in recent years,
Right.
the system is still functioning.
Right.
Power is being transferred peacefully, even if it's in a rather unconventional way.
It speaks to the resilience of our institutions
Yeah,
and the enduring belief in the democratic process.
I think you're right.
But it also makes me wonder what this moment will mean for the future. Like, what kind of legacy will this second Trump administration leave behind?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I don't think anyone has the answer right now.
Right.
But I do think this inauguration provides some clues.
Okay.
The choice of theme, our enduring democracy, a constitutional promise,
Right.
suggests a focus on stability and a return to traditional values.
And the venue change, moving the ceremony indoors to the Capitol Rotunda
Right.
could be seen as a symbol of that inward focus.
Yeah, it's like they're creating a protected space for this transfer of power,
I
a symbolic fortress against the storms raging outside.
agree. It's a powerful image. It makes me think about the challenges facing American democracy today, the polarization, the misinformation, the erosion of trust.
Yeah.
It's almost as if they're acknowledging those challenges
Yeah.
by creating this safe space within the Capitol,
Right.
the heart of our democracy.
At the heart of it all.
And yet there's still an element of defiance in this inauguration.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact that Trump is returning to power after all that's happened
Right.
sends a message to his supporters and detractors alike,
Yeah.
like he's back and he's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And that defiance is likely to fuel the political battles ahead.
Right.
The inauguration might mark a peaceful transfer of power,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't signal an end to the divisions in our society.
It feels like we're standing at a crossroads,
It does.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
One path leads towards greater unity and a reaffirmation of democratic values.
Right.
The other path leads towards further division and a deepening of the political chasms that already exist.
It's a stark choice, and the stakes are incredibly high.
They are.
Which path will we choose?
Right.
That's the question we must all grapple with as we move forward.
So what are you taking away from all of this? What's your biggest takeaway from this deep dive into Trump's second inauguration?
For me, it's the realization that this event is about so much more than just a ceremony. It's a reflection of who we are as a nation,
Right.
where we've been and where we might be headed.
Yeah.
It's a story that's still being written,
Right.
and the ending is far from certain.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
This inauguration is a microcosm of American democracy
absolutely.
in all its complexity and contradiction.
Yeah, it's a moment of both hope and uncertainty. A reminder of our enduring strengths and our ongoing vulnerabilities.
It is a call to action for all of us.
Yes, it is.
We can't be passive observers in this unfolding drama.
Right.
We must engage.
We must participate.
We must demand more from our leaders and from ourselves.
Well,
We can't just sit back and wait for this story to unfold.
right.
We have a role to play in shaping the future of our democracy.
Absolutely. And I think that's a fitting note to end on.
I agree. So to our listeners, we leave you with this thought.
Okay.
As you watch the events of this inauguration unfold, remember that you are not just a spectator.
Right.
You are a citizen of this democracy, and the future is in your hands.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
Until then,
Keep exploring
keep questioning.
and keep diving deep.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.